The first-generation Ford Mustang was manufactured by the Ford Motor Company from April 1964 until 1973. The introduction of the Mustang created a new class of automobile known as the pony car. The Mustang Euro unregistered trademark S styling, with its long hood and short deck, proved wildly popular and inspired a host of imitators. It was initially introduced as a hardtop and convertible with a fastback version put on sale the following year. At the time of its introduction, the Mustang, sharing its underpinnings with the Falcon, was slotted into a compact car segment. With each revision, the Mustang saw an increase in overall dimensions and in engine power. The 1971 model saw a drastic redesign to its predecessors. After an initial surge, sales were steadily declining, as Ford began working on a new generation Mustang. With the onset of the 1973 oil crisis, Ford was prepared, having already designed the smaller Mustang II for the 1974 model year. This new car had no common components with preceding models. Conception and styling. As Lee Iacocca's assistant general manager and chief engineer, Donald N. Frey was the head engineer for the Mustang Projector Euro, supervising the development of the Mustang in a record 18 months from September 1962 to March 1964. A Euro, while Iacocca himself championed the project as Ford Division General Manager. Drawing on inspiration from the mid-engined Ford Mustang I concept vehicle, Lee Iacocca ordered development of a new small car to Vice President of Design at Ford, Eugene Bourdonnais. Bourdonnais tasked Ford's 3 design studios to create proposals for the new vehicle. The design teams had been given 5 goals for the design of the Mustang. It would seat 4, have bucket seats and a floor-mounted shifter, weigh no more than 2,500 pounds and be no more than 180 inches in length, sell for less than $2,500, and have multiple power, comfort, and luxury options. The Lincoln Euro Mercury Design Studio ultimately produced the winning design in the intramural contest, under project design chief Joe Orosz and his team of L. David Ash, Gail Haldeman, and John Foster. In a 2004 interview, Orosz recalls the planning behind the design. Orosz added, L. David Ash is often credited with the actual styling of the Mustang. Ash, in a 1985 interview speaking of the origin of the Mustang design, when asked the degree of his contribution, said, Gail Haldeman, in a 2002 interview with Collectible Automobile, spoke of the Mustang's evolution through the Lincoln Mercury Studio. To decrease development costs, the Mustang used chassis, suspension, and drivetrain components derived from the Ford Falcon and Falcon. It used a unitized platform-type frame from the 1964 Falcon, and welded box sections side rails, including welded cross members. Although hardtop Mustangs accounted for the highest sales, durability problems with the new frame led to the engineering of a convertible first, which ensured adequate stiffness. Overall length of the Mustang and Falcon was identical, although the Mustang's wheelbase was slightly shorter. With an overall width of 68.2 inches, it was 2.4 inches narrower, yet the wheel track was nearly identical. Shipping weight, approximately 2,570 pounds with the straight 6-cylinder engine, was also similar to the Falcon. A fully equipped V8 model weighed approximately 3,000 pounds. Although most of the mechanical parts were from the Falcon, the Mustang's body was completely different. Sporting a shorter wheelbase, wider track, lower seating position and lower overall height. An industry first, the torque box was an innovative structural system that greatly stiffened the Mustang's construction and helped contribute to better handling. Gail Haldeman speaks of the engineering and design of the car in his interview, stating, the idea for a fastback originated with Joe Orosz as well, and was designed in Charlie Phaneuf's studio. Haldeman recalls as follows, an additional 4-door model was designed by Dave Ash as a clay model, but was not considered. 1964 Euro 1966, since it was introduced 5 months before the normal start of the 1965 production year and manufactured alongside 1964 Ford Falcons and 1964 Mercury Comets, the earliest Mustangs are widely referred to as the 1964 1/2 model. A more accurate description is the early 1965 model because it underwent significant changes at the beginning of the regular model year. All the early cars, however, were marketed by Ford as 1965 models. The low-end model hardtop used a U-Code 170 Acclaim straight-six engine borrowed from the Falcon, as well as a 3-speed manual transmission and retailed for $2,368. Standard equipment for the early 1965 Mustangs included black front seat belts, a glove box light, and a padded dashboard. Production began in March 1964 and official introduction following on April 17 at the 1964 World's Fair. Several changes to the Mustang occurred at the start of the normal 1965 model year production, 5 months after its introduction. These cars are known as late 65s, and were built after factory retooling in August 1964. The engine lineup was changed, with a 200 Acclaim T-code engine that produced 120 HP. Production of the F-code 260 Acclaim engine ceased when the 1964 model year ended. It was replaced with a new 200 HP C-code 289 Acclaim engine with a 2-barrel carburetor as the base V8. An A-code 225 HP 4-barrel carbureted version was next in line, followed by the unchanged Hypo K-code 271 HP 289. The DC electrical generator was replaced by a new AC alternator on all Fords. The Mustang GT version was introduced as the GT equipment package, and included a V8 engine 289, grille-mounted fog lamps, rocker panel stripes, and disc brakes. In the interior, the GT option added a different instrument panel that included a speedometer, fuel gauge, temp gauge, oil pressure gauge and ammeter in 5 round dials. A 4-barrel carbureted engine was now available with any body style. Additionally, reverse lights were an option added to the car from August 1964 production. The Mustang was originally available as either a hardtop or convertible, but during the car's early design phases a fastback model was strongly considered. In 1965, the Shelby Mustang was born. It was available only in newly introduced fastback body version with its swept-back rear glass and distinctive ventilation louvers. The standard interior features of the 1965 Mustang included adjustable driver and passenger bucket seats, an AM radio, and a floor-mounted shifter in a variety of color options. Ford added additional interior options during the 1965 model year. The interior decor group was popularly known as Pony Interior due to the addition of embossed running ponies on the seat fronts, and also included integral armrests, wood grain applique copyright accents, and a round gauge cluster that would replace the standard Falcon instrumentation. Also available were some visors, a remote-operated mirror, a floor console, and a bench seat. Ford later offered an under-dash air conditioning unit, and discontinued the vinyl with cloth insert seat option, offered only in early 1965 models. One option designed strictly for fun was the Rally Pack. Introduced in 1963 after Ford's success at that year's Monte Carlo Rally and available on other Ford and Mercury compacts and intermediates, the Rally Pack was a combination clock and tachometer mounted to the steering column. It was available as a factory-ordered item for $69.30. Installed by a dealer, the Rally Pack cost $75.95. A 14" rim option was available for Rally Pack and GT350R vehicles, widening front and rear track to 57.5. Reproductions are presently available from any number of Mustang restoration parts sources. A compass, rear seat belts, AC, and backup lights were also optional. Nationwide survey of owners by Popular Mechanics included many complaints about legroom. Fuel economy was good at 20 mpg at 60 mph. The 1966 Mustang debuted with moderate trim changes including a new grille, side ornamentation, wheel covers and gas cap. Ford's new C4 Cruise-O-Matic 3-speed auto transmission became available for the 225 HP V8. The 289 Hypo K-code engine was also offered with a C4 transmission, but it had stronger internals and can be identified by the outer casing of the servo, which is marked with a C. The long-duration solid lifter camshaft that allowed the high-revving 289 to make the horsepower it was known for, was not friendly for a low stall-speed automatic torque converter. The hypo could be spotted very easily by the 1-inch thick vibration damper, and the absence of a vacuum advance unit on the dual-point distributor. With the valve covers off, there is a large letter K stamped between the valve springs, that along with screw-in studs for the adjustable rocker arms. A large number of new paint and interior color options, an AM 8-track sound system, and one of the first AM/FM mono automobile radios was also offered. It also removed the Falcon instrument cluster. The previously optional features, including the round gauges and padded sun visors, became standard equipment. The Mustang convertible would be the best-selling in 1966, with 72,119 sold, beating the number 2 Impala by almost 2-1. The 1965 and 1966 Mustangs are differentiated by variations in the exterior, despite similar design. These variations include the emblem on the quarter panels behind the doors. From August 1964 production, the emblem was a single vertical piece of chrome, while for 1966 models the emblem was smaller in height and had 3 horizontal bars extending from the design, resembling an E. The front intake grills and ornaments were also different. The 1965 front grille used a honeycomb pattern, while the 1966 version was a slotted style. While both model years used the horse and corral emblem on the grille, the 1965 had 4 bars extending from each side of the corral, while on the 1966, these bars were removed. The 1966 model year saw introduction of High Country Special Limited Edition. 333 of them were sold in Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska. When Ford wanted to introduce the Mustang in Germany, they discovered that Krupp Company had already registered the name for a truck. The German company offered to sell the rights for $10,000. Ford refused and removed Mustang badges from exported units, instead naming the cars as T5 for the German market until 1979 when Krupp copyrights expired. As popular as the Mustang had become during this generation, it wasn't offered in Australia. The Mustang was largely developed from the Falcon, while in Australia, the Falcon began to develop into an entirely unique Australian product. Capitalising on the popularity of the Mustang, however, Australia was instead offered the Ford Falcon GT built entirely in Australia, but the Falcon wasn't offered in a 2-door coupe. Instead was available as a 2-door delivery van and a 2-door ute. 1965 Mustang AWD prototype. In 1965, Harry Ferguson Research purchased 3 Mustang notchbacks and converted them to 4x4 in an attempt to sell potential clients on their FFAWD system. A similar system was used in the Ferguson P99 Formula One car, and would go on to be featured in the Jensen FF, widely considered the first AWD passenger car. As in the Jensen FF, the AWD Mustangs also featured an ABS braking system, long before such a feature was commonplace. Engines. 1967 Euro 1968, the 1967 model year Mustang was the first redesign of the original model. Ford's designers began drawing up a larger version even as the original was achieving sales success, and while Iacocca later complained about the Mustang's growth, he did oversee the redesign for 1967. The major mechanical feature was to allow the installation of a big block V8 engine. The overall size, interior and cargo space were increased. Exterior trim changes included concave taillights, side scoop and chrome side ornamentation, square rear view mirrors, and usual yearly wheel and gas cap changes. The high-performance 289 option was placed behind the newer 320 HP 390 Accurain FE engine from the Ford Thunderbird, which was equipped with a 4-barrel carburetor. A 390 GT engine, and a 4-speed manual transmission recorded quarter-mile times of approximately 13 seconds and trap speeds of over 105 mph. During the mid-1968 model year, A drag racer for the street could be ordered with the optional 428 Acclaim Cobra jet engine, which was officially rated at 335 HP. All of these Mustangs were issued R codes on their Van S. The 1967 and 1968 models discontinued the pony interior in favor of a new deluxe interior package, which included special color options, brushed stainless steel or wood grain trim, seat buttons, a tilt steering wheel, and special interior paneling. The 1968 models that were produced from January 1968 were also the first model year to incorporate three-point lap and shoulder belts as opposed to the standard lap belts. The air conditioning option was fully integrated into the dash, the speakers and stereo were upgraded, and unique center and overhead consoles were options. The fastback model offered the option of a rear fold-down seat, and the convertible was available with folding glass windows. Gone too was the rally pack, since the new instrument cluster had provisions for an optional tachometer and clock. Its size and shape also precluded the installation of the accessory atop the steering column. The convenience group with forewarning lights for low fuel, seatbelt reminder, parking brake not released, and door ajar were added to the instrument panel, or, if one ordered the optional console and AC, the lights were mounted on the console. Changes for the 1968 model increased safety with a two-spoke energy-absorbing steering wheel, along with newly introduced shoulder belts. Other changes included front and rear side markers, Ford lettering removed from hood, rear view mirror moved from frame to windshield, a 302 Acclaim V8 engine was now available, and C-stripe graphics were added. The California Special Mustang, or GTCS, was visually based on the Shelby model and was only sold in western states. Its sister, the High Country Special, was sold in Denver, Colorado. While the GTCS was only available as a coupe, the High Country Special model was available in fastback and convertible configurations during the 1966 and 1967 model years, and as a coupe for 1968. The Mustang fastback gained popular culture status when used in the crime thriller Bullitt. Lieutenant Frank Bullitt, played by actor Steve McQueen, drove a modified Highland Green 1968 Mustang GT fastback with 390 Acclaim 4V engine, chasing two hitmen in a black 1968 Dodge Charger in the film's car chase through the streets of San Francisco. Engines. 1969 Euro 1970. The 1969 model year restyle added more heft to the body with body length extended by 3.8 inches, width increased by almost half an inch, and the Mustang's weight went up markedly too. 1969 was the first model to use quad headlamps placed both inside and outside the grille opening. The corralled grille pony was replaced with the Pony Intrabars logo, set off-center to the driver's side. The car was longer than previous models and sported convex rather than concave side panels. The fastback body version was renamed Sports Roof. The 1969 model year saw the introduction of the Mach 1, with a variety of power plants options and many new styling and performance features. Distinctive reflective striping was placed along the body sides, with a pop-open gas cap, dual exhausts, matte black hood with simulated air scoop and NASCAR-style cable and pin T-downs. It used steel wheels with bold-lettered Goodyear Peliglas tires. A functional shaker hood scoop, which visibly vibrated by being attached directly to the air cleaner through a hole in the hood, was available, as were tail-mounted wing and chin spoilers and a rear window louvered blackout shade. The Mach 1 featured a deluxe interior with simulated wood trim, high-backed seats, extra sound deadening, remote sports mirrors and other comforts. The Mach 1 proved popular with buyers with 72,458 cars sold through 1969. The Boss 302 was created to meet Trans Am rules and featured distinctive hockey stick stripes, while the understated Boss 429 was created to homologate the Boss 429 engine for NASCAR use. The two Boss models received fame on the track and street, and to this day they still demand premium pricing for their pedigree. 1628 Boss 302s and 859 Boss 429s were sold through 1969, making these vehicles very rare. A new luxury model became available starting for 1969, available in only the hardtop body style. The Grand featured a soft ride, 55 pounds of extra sound deadening, as well as deluxe interior with simulated wood trim. It was popular with buyers with 22,182 units sold through 1969. Amidst other special editions, the 1969 Mustang E was offered for those desiring high MPG. The 1969 limited edition Mustang E was a rare fastback special model designed for economy. It came with a 6-cylinder engine, a high stall torque converter for the standard automatic transmission and a very low, 2.331 rear axle ratio. Mustang E lettering on the rear quarters identified the special Mustang E air conditioning was not available on the E model. The Mustang GT was discontinued in 1969 due to poor sales versus the success of the new Mach 1 with only 5396 GT models sold that year. A new 250 Acclaim Thrift Power i6 engine with 155 HP filled the gap between the existing 200 Acclaim Thrift Power i6 and the V8 engine lineup. Although 1969 continued with many of the same basic V8 engines available on 1968 models, notably a now revised 302 cubic inches Windsor engine with 220 HP, the 390 cubic inches FE with 320 HP and the recently launched 428 cubic inches Cobra Jet engine with an advertised 335 HP, a variety of revised options and changes were introduced to keep the Mustang fresh and competitive, including a new performance V8 available and 250 HP or 290 HP tune known as the 351 cubic inches Windsor, which was effectively a stretched and revised 302 Acclaim to achieve the extra stroke. The 428 cubic inches Cobra Jet engine continued unchanged in the 1969 and 1970 model years and continued to be advertised at just 335 HP despite being closer to 410 HP. However, whenever a V or W axle was ordered on any Cobra Jet Mustang, this kicked in various engine improvements which were designed to make the engine more reliable on the strip. These improvements included an engine oil cooler, stronger crankshaft and cone rods and improved engine balancing and was named the Super Cobra Jet. On the order form, these improvements were later referred to as drag pack. Today, these models request a premium price despite offering no notable performance increase other than provided by their unique axle ratios. The 1969 Shelby Mustang was now under Ford's control and made to look vastly different from regular production Mustangs, despite now being built in-house by Ford. The custom styling included a fiberglass front end with a combination loop bumper grille that increased the car's overall length by 3 inches, as well as 5 air intakes on the hood. 2 models were available, GT350 Windsor producing 290 HP, and GT500 Cobra Jet engine, in both sports roof or convertible versions. All 1969 Euro 1970 Shelby Mustangs were produced in 1969. Because of dwindling sales, the 789 remaining 1969 cars were given new serial numbers entitled as 1970 models. They had modified front air dam and a blackout paint treatment around the hood scoops. The 1970 model year Mustangs were restyled to be less aggressive and therefore returned to single headlamps which were moved to the inside of the grille opening with fins on the outside of the grille sides. Some felt the aggressive styling of the 1969 model hurt our sales and this view prompted the headlamp revisions and simplification of other exterior styling aspects. It's worth noting though that 1969 model year sales exceeded those of 1970. The rear fender air scoops were removed and the tail light panel was now flat instead of concave as seen on 1969 models. The interior options remained mostly unchanged. 1970 model year saw the previous 351W V8 engine options replaced with the new 351 cubic inches Cleveland V8 in either 2V or 4V versions. Though some early 1970 Mustangs, built in 1969, had the 351W. The 351C4V engine featured 11.01 compression and produced 300 bhp at 5400 rpms. This new performance engine incorporated elements learned from the Ford 385 series engine and the Boss 302, particularly the poly-angle combustion chambers with canted valves and the thin-wall casting technology. Ford made 96 Mustang Twister special cars for Kansas Ford dealers in late 1969. The Twister specials were grabber orange Mach 1s with special decals. Ford also made a few Sidewinders, which were built in Dearborn, shipped to Omaha, and sold in Iowa and Nebraska. They were available in grabber green, grabber blue, Calypso Coral, and yellow. The stripes came in the trunk to be installed by dealers. Engines. 1971 Euro 1973, 1971, the 1971 Mustang, introduced in September 1970, was green-lighted by Ford's new president, Simon Bunkie Knudsen, formerly of General Motors. Again, the revised model grew in size, gaining 3 inches in width in order to accommodate Ford's big block 429 Acclaim V8 without need for an extensive suspension redesign. As before, there were 3 body styles offered: hardtop, sports roof, and convertible. Hardtop. The new 1971 hardtop featured a prominent tunnel-back rear window design with flowing rear pillars, a completion of the styling exercise of the outgoing model. Hardtops with grand trim gained a vinyl roof and grand badges on the C-pillars. An additional addition, the Spring Special, was available between March and May 1971, which added Mach 1 styling cues to the hardtop. Sports roof. Sports roof models were available in base configurations in addition to the Mach 1 and Boss 351 Sport performance options. The Mach 1s were available with two-tone paint schemes, optional hockey stick stripes, NACA hood scoops, color-keyed side mirrors, and additional sports performance options. All Mach 1 models came stock with urethane front bumpers and an alternate grille equipped with amber sport lights. Though the Mach 1 is often associated with the NACA hood and other styling cues, base Mach 1s could be had with the standard hood and the 302.2V engine. Boss 351 examples were similar in appearance to the Mach 1, and included a larger blackout hood than Mach 1's, front and rear spoilers, dual exhaust with no rear valance cutouts, and chrome bumpers paired with a sport lamp grille. Convertible. Convertibles were equipped with a power top and a glass rear window. These were the last Mustangs available as a convertible until 1982. Convertibles featured no unique exterior visual package of their own during their first year of introduction. 1972. Due to tightening emissions regulations, the Boss 351 edition and optional 429 big block were dropped after 1971, leaving the 351 Acclaim variants as the largest available engines for 1972. Exterior differences were virtually unchanged, though all 1972 models were revised with fasten seat belt warning lamps on the right side dash panel. The decal group exterior trim package was also revised, allowing coupe and convertible owners to option their car with the tone lower body paint, plus the honeycomb sport lamp grille from the Mach 1/Boss 351 and the Mach 1's urethane bumper. A commemorative Olympic Sprint edition was released between March and June of this year. Sprint editions were available in hardtop and sports roof variants, and featured white paint schemes with light blue accents and USA Shield decals on the rear quarter panels. An additional 50 Sprint convertibles were produced exclusively for the 1972 National Cherry Blossom Parade in Washington, D.C. 1972 saw the end of the special Ford muscle car performance engine era. At mid-year, Ford offered a slightly detuned Boss 351 engine, which could be ordered with any model. Only 398 Mustangs were built with a drag race-oriented or-code motor and was designated as the 351HO. Mandatory options were the top loader 4-speed, competition N-case rear end, and air conditioning delete. Vacuum-operated ram air was not available, however the HO came with the first full-time cold air induction system in a Mustang, routing cold air via a 2-piece plastic duct under the battery tray to the air cleaner snorkel. All 351 HO cars were manufactured in Dearborn, Michigan. 1973 brought some mild restyling. The urethane front bumper became standard, and was enlarged in accordance with new NHTSA standards. All Mustang models had their sport lamps repurposed as turn signals, as the new bumper covered part of the front valance. These new lamps, unlike their 1971/72 counterparts, were now oriented vertically. Both a Mach 1 and base grille were offered, with differing insert patterns. Mach 1 decals were also revised in 1972 for 1973 models, and the previous hockey stick side stripes of 1971-1972 models became an option on hardtops and convertibles with the addition of the exterior decal group. Magnum 500 wheels, previously optional, were superseded by forged aluminum 5-hole wheels. The 1973 model year Mustang was the final version of the original pony car, as the model name migrated to the economy, Ford Pinto-based Mustang II the next year. Other variants, a small number of Mexican-produced cars were manufactured with the GT 351 trim package, under license by Shelby de Mexico. Additionally, 14 Shelby Europa vehicles were modified and decaled by Belgian Shelby dealer Claude Dubois for European clientele. Engines, automakers in the U.S. switched from gross to net power and torque ratings in 1972. Thus, it is difficult to compare power and torque ratings between 1971 and 1972. Production. In 1964 Mustang production started with 22,000 orders taken on the first day. In the first 2 years of production, 3 Ford Motor Company plants in Imitators, California, Dearborn, Michigan, and Metuchen, New Jersey produced almost 1.5 million Mustangs. Industry reaction. Mustang's success left General Motors unprepared. Chrysler introduced the Plymouth Barracuda a few weeks before the Mustang, and although it was later redesigned as a distinct pony car, it was initially a modified Plymouth Valiant. However, the Fish car did not enjoy as strong a market demand as Ford's Pony. General Motors executives thought the rear-engine Chevrolet Corvair Monza would compete against the Mustang, but it also sold poorly by comparison. The Monza performed well, but lacked a V8 engine and its reputation was tarnished by Ralph Nader in his book Unsafe at Any Speed. It took GM until the 1967 model year to counter with the Chevrolet Camaro and Pontiac Firebird. Lincoln Mercury joined the competition in 1966 with the Mercury Cougar, an upmarket Mustang, and subsequent Motor Trend Car of the Year. In 1967, American Motors introduced the Javelin, an image-changing 4-place pony car. This real standout model was quickly followed with a Walter Mitty Ferrari, the 2-seater high-performance AMX. In 1969, the Dodge Challenger, a version of the Plymouth Barracuda platform, was last to join the pony car race. This genre of small, sporty automobiles is often referred to as the pony car, because of the Ford Mustang that established this market segment. References. Further reading: Ford Mustang Mach 1, Shelby Mustang.